The airport terminal was quieter than usual that night, the kind of silence that hums just before dawn. Cleaning machines whirred softly as a single janitor, wearing a faded blue uniform, pushed his mop across the marble floor. His name was Jack Turner, once Captain Jack Turner, U.S. Navy. Now he was just the janitor who worked the graveyard shift, trying to make ends meet for his 8-year-old daughter, Lily. Jack's shoulders bore the invisible weight of years spent in service, missions classified, comrades lost, a life reduced to quiet obscurity. Yet he never complained. His daughter was his anchor. Every night, before he came to work, he'd kiss her forehead as she slept, whispering promises that things would get better. It was 2:47 a.m. when the last red-eye flight from D.C. touched down. Only a handful of passengers trudged into the terminal, exhausted travelers, a young couple arguing over luggage, and an older man in a wrinkled Navy uniform holding a duffel bag. The man's medals shimmered faintly under the fluorescent lights. Jack didn't notice him at first. He was too busy polishing the floor, humming quietly to himself. But when the man sat down heavily on one of the nearby benches and sighed, Jack glanced over. The man was Admiral Richard Harlow, though Jack didn't recognize him right away. Harlow had commanded fleets, testified before Congress, and carried burdens of his own. But that night, he was just an old sailor, too tired to make it home. He leaned back, closing his eyes. Long night. Jack asked gently. The Admiral chuckled without opening them. You could say that. Delayed flights, missed connections, and now I'm stuck here till morning. Jack nodded sympathetically. Happens to the best of us. There was something oddly comforting about Jack's calm tone. The Admiral turned his head slightly, studying the janitor. You Navy. Jack hesitated, eyes dropping to his mop. Used to be, long time ago. Harlow smiled faintly, could tell by the posture. You stand like someone who's carried a lot of weight but never let it show. Jack gave a modest shrug. Maybe once, these days, I just carry this mop. The Admiral chuckled again, his voice softening. Doesn't matter what you carry, son. It's how you carry it. They sat in silence for a moment. The terminal lights dimmed slightly on an automatic timer. Harlow's head began to dip, his exhaustion catching up to him. Before he realized it, he'd leaned over, and his head gently came to rest on Jack's shoulder. Jack froze for a second, surprised. The mighty Admiral of the U.S. Navy, asleep on a janitor's shoulder. He thought about moving away, but then stopped. The man looked worn down, not just from travel, but from life itself. So Jack let him rest. Minutes turned to an hour. The hum of cleaning machines became background noise. Jack just sat there, letting the old sailor sleep, the way comrades might after a long battle. When dawn broke, the sound of boots echoed down the corridor. Two officers in crisp uniforms rushed toward the Admiral. Sir, we've been looking everywhere for you. One of them exclaimed, clearly embarrassed. Harlow blinked awake, confused at first, then straightened instantly, realizing his head was still resting on the janitor's shoulder. Oh, good morning, he muttered, pulling himself upright. Jack just smiled. You were out cold, Admiral. The young officers exchanged startled glances. Admiral? Jack repeated softly, the pieces clicking together. Yes, one officer said sharply. Admiral Richard Harlow, commander of Pacific Operations. He looked at Jack with a hint of disdain. And who are you? Jack set down his mop. Just the janitor, sir. The officer scoffed. Right, but the Admiral was quiet, staring at Jack with curiosity now. Something in the janitor's tone, the way he said sir, and the calm steadiness in his eyes. Gentlemen, Harlow said, gesturing for them to step back. He turned to Jack. You said you served. What was your unit? Jack hesitated, eyes distant. Special Operations Command, 22nd Strike Group, deployed in the Gulf 2008-2012. The Admiral's expression changed instantly. 22nd, Turner. Jack's head tilted slightly. Yes, sir. Now it was Harlow's blood that ran cold. Captain Jack Turner, you're the one who led the Nightfall extraction. You saved an entire reconnaissance team under fire. Jack just gave a small, almost shy nod. We did what we had to. The Admiral stood slowly, almost reverently. I read your report a dozen times. You were declared MIA for months. We thought you were gone. Jack looked away, his jaw tightening. Came back, but not the same. Lost my wife after that. Needed work that didn't involve a weapon. He gave a faint smile. So here I am. The Admiral didn't know what to say. His officers were speechless, staring between the two men as if the world had turned upside down. Harlow finally broke the silence. Captain Turner, you carried this nation when others fell, and now you're cleaning its floors. Jack met his gaze evenly. Work is work, sir. My daughter needs me more than the Navy does. Harlow's throat tightened. You have a daughter, Lily, 8 years old, smartest kid you'll ever meet. Jack smiled proudly. She thinks I'm a superhero. The Admiral looked down, his eyes glistening. She's right. For a moment, the years and ranks dissolved. It wasn't an admiral and a janitor standing there. It was two men who had both given everything to their country, only to end up alone in an empty terminal at dawn. Then Harlow turned to his officers. You two get my car ready and clear my morning schedule, sir. He didn't repeat himself. Turning back to Jack, Harlow said quietly, You still live around here? Jack nodded. Small apartment, few blocks from the base. Good, Harlow said. Because I'm not letting one of our best fade into the background. You belong with us. Jack chuckled softly. I appreciate that, sir, but my life's different now. My little girl's got school, and Harlow held up a hand. Not as a soldier, Jack, as a teacher. Jack frowned slightly. A teacher? The Admiral smiled. We've been building a new leadership program at the Naval Academy, training the next generation in strategy, discipline, and integrity. Who better to teach them than the man who lived it? Jack's jaw tightened. For a moment he said nothing. Then he looked down at the mop, the symbol of his quiet, unnoticed life. I don't know, he said softly. It's been a long time. Harlow's tone turned firm. Jack, you carried me through the night, literally. You still carry that strength. Don't bury it. Silence lingered, heavy but full of meaning. Finally, Jack exhaled. Let me think about it. Harlow nodded. Of course, but my offer stands. As the Admiral turned to leave, he paused and faced Jack once more. You know, there's something poetic about this. A janitor who once led heroes, letting a tired old admiral rest on his shoulder. The world could use more men like you. Jack smiled faintly. We all just do our part, sir. The Admiral extended his hand. Jack hesitated, then took it. The grip was firm, full of mutual respect that didn't need words. The officers saluted as Harlow walked away. But before he exited the terminal, he looked back one last time. Jack was already back to work, mopping the same floor, quiet, steady, unseen. A week later, Jack received a letter, stamped with the Navy insignia. Inside was an official invitation. Captain Jack Turner, you are hereby requested to serve as senior instructor at the U.S. Naval Leadership Academy. He stared at it for a long time. Lily, sitting at the kitchen table doing homework, looked up. Daddy, what's that? Jack smiled. A chance to teach others how to be brave. She grinned, like you. He nodded, eyes misty, maybe a little. The following month, when Admiral Harlow arrived at the Academy's opening ceremony, he spotted Jack across the courtyard, clean, shaven, standing tall again, wearing a simple instructor's uniform. Their eyes met. Harlow gave a subtle nod of respect. Jack returned it, smiling softly. And though the students around them didn't know the story, how a Navy admiral once slept on a janitor's shoulder, or how that moment changed both their lives, the truth lived in their silent salute. That honor doesn't fade, no matter how far life takes you. For sometimes the world sees a janitor, but those who truly look see the hero still standing beneath the uniform,